Hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Jeremy, and today we are going to work on creating extended definition part 2. Our content will be from, once again, grade 10, unit 2, the Industrial Revolution, and our objectives for this video is to identify evidence needed to create an extended definition using step 2 of the extended definition tool. In our previous video, we looked at why we use the tool and what the tool expects of us. We also worked on step 1, which was putting down a short definition of what we know about the Industrial Revolution. Now we're going to move on to step 2. And I had mentioned in the previous video that we're going to look for 4 ways from a chart, and this is our chart here, that will help us further extend our definition. And there are several ways that we could think of. So you can look at an expert definition to really look at how people, historians or experts who study this, how do they write about this topic? We could look for connotation. So how does this topic make us feel? What is the idea that comes to mind when you hear about this topic? Or maybe the sources you have give you illustrative examples. So these will be brief descriptions and really like paraphrasing it into your own words of what exemplifies this concept. You could have a list of examples as well, where you give several examples of your concept, or potentially you're going to put things together in categories so that you could really briefly discuss how things come together. You could talk about the historical understanding. So how would a historian who uses this concept or term, how do they use it and in what context? And you could also talk about the significance or value. Why is this concept important? Why are we studying it? What is the importance to world history? You could talk even about the history of the term. Where did it come from? How did it come to be? And how does the meaning change over time? Maybe that will help your definition have more complexity by talking about, well, it meant this at the beginning, and now it means this because. Or you could also talk about the relationship to other concepts that you've talked about. So connecting or comparing or explaining how the concept you are trying to define connects to other concepts in world history. And that's a great way. So all of these are very good ways to really extend your definition, and you could use any one of them that you choose. So why don't we take a look at one of the readings from day 20 and actually see what we can do and how we could get these examples and ways. So our first one is going to be this first part here. So take a second or two and read it. So pause and read and see if you can find some ways to extend the definition. So I will show you my way now that you have paused. And one of the ways that I see we can extend is to talk about the relationship to other concepts. So my first extension is going to look at even just this first line here, where, and I'm going to paraphrase it in my own words, that great change in relationships between people and their natural environment. And I'm also seeing that humans began to unleash and exploit on a large scale the energy stored in fossil fuels. So there are actually other things you could get from this, but this is just what I'm getting from this blurb and paragraph. So let's do the same thing with the next one. And I want you, actually, before you look at mine, I want you to pause and read this and try to see different ways you could use this to extend your definition. All right. And now let's look at mine again. And there's, once again, so many examples that we could take from this, but I wanted to take this blurb here because it's going to go really nicely with what I already noticed from my last extension. So we're seeing that new technologies helped humans live in once uninhabitable environments, and new transportation infrastructure made it easier to move from place to place. And why don't we do one more? Great. And this I'm noticing from that same place. This is another great example that we could use, that electric lights, another new technology, could create perpetual and artificial daytime. I think that's very important. And it goes really nicely with how humans have really changed their environment. And then let's go to the last slide from this reading. Pause again. And I took a lot from this, especially I took that it is really, ooh, sorry. It's really important to consider how much industrialization has altered human attitudes. So it's really this first line here that really got to me, but this entire paragraph really, if I had to sum it up, and talks about the significance and value. And humans and their attitudes changed towards the natural environment, and fewer people started to organize their days and their lives based on restrictions from their local environment. And that's a very big significance. Okay, so we're noticing that there's tons of things that we are getting from this. So I hope that this was helpful for you. In our next video, we're going to put all of this together in step 3.